Hi, I am deeply concerned about what's going on in America. And one of the big concerns I have is for women. I was raised to believe in women's liberation. I was raised to believe that women should have and are equal to men. And I still believe that. But unfortunately, there are many people in America who don't believe that. And they are working to take away women's rights. Now, to me, that is unacceptable. Women deserve equality with men. Now, I'm not talking even about trans rights or immigrant rights or LGBTQ rights. I'm talking about all women should have the same rights as men. They should get medical and scientific care that is based on women's biology, not like in the past when it was all based on men's biology. Did you know that? They never used to test women. They would only use male subjects because the doctors, in their arrogance, in their patriarchal ignorance, assumed that the women would react the same way as men, even though biochemically alone, that is an impossibility. Not to mention the huge variance between one person and another physically and mentally. So that's one risk. And in fact, when the current administration told the CDC not to include any criteria regarding LGBTQ, not only did they remove LGBTQ criteria from testing, they removed women too. So women are already disadvantaged by one of the organizations that is most responsible for public health, the CDC. Now, a lot of the people that are working to remove women's rights are people who support Trump and his administration. They are fanatical Christian nationalists and evangelical Christians. But there are also the incels. There are also the women haters, the misogynists. There are also people from other religions where they strongly believe that women don't deserve to have the rights that men have. Now, I'd like to point out to you some facts. It wasn't until the 1990s when Bill Clinton signed into law. This is very ironic, I understand, because he's such a philanderer. But he signed into law a law that prevented men from continuing to beat and rape their wives. It was only until in the 1990s when it became illegal. Prior to that, if a woman called the police wouldn't usually do anything because she was the property of the man. Did you know that up until relatively recently, women couldn't vote? They couldn't have their own bank accounts? That in fact, and I was reminded of this while I was watching Leave It to Beaver this morning while I was waiting for an appointment. Women, if a permission note came home from school for her child, she would have to wait till her husband came home to sign it. She was not able to authorize anything. The husband had to do the authorizations. And that show was, I believe, made in the 1950s. So imagine you're a mom and you cannot authorize anything for your own child that you love, presumably. Now, also consider that there were only certain kinds of jobs that women were allowed to work, like being a teacher or being a nurse. They weren't allowed to be scientists. They weren't allowed to be mathematicians. They weren't allowed to be doctors or dentists. They were highly restricted in the professions that were considered appropriate and acceptable. And otherwise, they had to stay home and be a housewife, barefoot and pregnant in the kitchen. Now, I don't know about you, but for me, that kind of a misogynistic attitude is unacceptable. I believe with every fiber in my body that women deserve to be treated equally. Everybody deserves equal treatment. But if these people continue to influence and control Trump and his administration, and there are many people within his administration that are part of the problem, like the Speaker of the House, Mr. Johnson, and the head of the Department of Defense, Hegseth, and on and on and on the list goes. These people do not want women to have the rights that they have right now. It isn't just about abortions and adoptions and orphanages and things like that. It's about way more than that. It's about going back to a time when women were the property of their men, be it the father or be it the husband. And if you look at some religions, like in Islam, if the father dies, the eldest son becomes the head of the household, and the wife, his mother, must consult him when making decisions. Yes, that is part of Islam. I know this because my wife was Muslim, and I have a very good friend who I was talking to earlier this year, and she told me about a decision she had to make, and she had to talk to her son first. That is what patriarchy does. Not to mention what misogyny does, like the incels and the women haters. Should be no room in a pluralistic society like ours for the restriction of rights of people just because somebody doesn't like them. Now, if this is about a hate group, that's a totally different situation. They need to be watched. We need to be protected from them. But what happens when the hate group is in control of the government? I'll tell you what happens. You get up and you make a lot of noise. You talk to your mayor, you talk to your governor, you talk to the state senate, you talk to your senators, you talk to your representatives in the federal government, and you keep on making noise. Don't sit down and say, oh no. You must protect your rights if you're a woman, and if you are a man or you identify otherwise, you have to help them. Because if 50% approximately of the population can lose their rights, so can the rest of us. It's just a matter of time. I hope that you will help. I'm ready. Thanks for watching and have a great day.
Thanks for watching. I need to ask for your help. On December 11th, 2024, Amazon fired me under false pretenses, and the 17th, I had surgery for the injury that occurred at Amazon that Amazon and Sedgwick refused to take responsibility for, so it's coming out of my pocket and my insurance company's pocket. That means I'm unemployed, and I will not be getting short-term disability from Amazon or from Sedgwick, so my financial situation is a bit of a problem right now. If you would like to help me, there are some things you can do. Number one, you can like, subscribe, share, comment, and turn on notifications on my channels. Number two, if you'd like to give a one-time donation, and please don't do this if you can't afford it, you can, on the Glenn's Fast Reviews channel, do a super thanks. Number three, if you would like to help me on a monthly basis, you can become a member on Glenn's Fast Reviews, or you can go to patreon.com/GLENNMII and become a member there. Thank you so much for your support.